I start to say a few words on the Commonwealth and radicalization and its implications, so forth, I'd like to especially say, I know there are some amazing distinguished guests here today, but in particular, I'd like to say, first of all, I'd like to begin with what a wonderful work this organization is doing. And people behind this organization, people like Robin and Margaret, have taken it from strength to strength, and I think that a special round of applause should go for Margaret and Robin for this. I'm also delighted, as well as Robin and Margaret, the work that Dr. Ramsey is doing, in particular with this organization and in Oxford University, is also second to none. With people like this, distinguished people here, and also I'd like to say that it's a great honor to see people like Kokar Saab, Walad Kokar Saab here, who is one of the leading organization that collects money here in the UK and sends to all the poor countries. Kokar Saab is sitting in the front, and we are delighted. And also, I'm delighted that, just to introduce you, that Commander Shoaib has come from Pakistan to take part today, especially in Peace Federation. He is so honored. He reads about it in Pakistan, and it's great that he is here, a man who's a former pilot, who set up a naval air force for observing everything, and when he was up in the air, he had the bird's eye view of the country and people, and he parked up his plane and thought, I need to help people and humanity and mankind, and dedicated his life to education. Men like this need our fullest congratulations and support. And then finally, I'd like to say, I know that you're all distinguished. There is a former ambassador of Pakistan amongst us here today. Such a humble man, sits at the back. Here is a man, he's broken a record for, particularly in Pakistan and Asian countries, to take up, to be the ambassador for 3 occasions, 3 successive occasions, the only ambassador to have achieved this. And in particular, in his last tenure, he was the only ambassador to be given such a high accolade, where he had discussed with Barack Obama issues concerning Pakistan of national interest, mutual benefit to Pakistan, and world order. The only ambassador, and yet he sits amongst us. So this Universal Peace Federation, amazing the type of people they gather here, and so forth. And for me today to be given this opportunity, an ordinary man, I always like to say I'm a man. When I speak as a member of the public. And I would like to say is this, talking about the Commonwealth, I am, or my 4 parents, I am a British Pakistani, but my 4 parents are members of the Commonwealth. And what does the Commonwealth mean to me? I've always said that the Commonwealth is this. It has always been the jewel in the crown of Great Britain. People of the Commonwealth, when they come together, and who is its head? Her Majesty the Queen. They all stand up, they show their respect, and they show their honor. But somehow I feel for my ancestors, heart aching, because Britain has continuously wanted to join EU, what it was called at the time, European Union, and so forth. And here was people, in one hand, the Commonwealth country people who stood by Britain during the First World War and during the Second World War, shoulder to shoulder. And yet Britain wanted to join Europe, which some of the people in Europe were the arch enemy and nearly tried to annihilate Britain, and the suffering Britain has suffered, particularly in the Second World War, the Blitz nearly annihilated. But Britain chose to be there and said that was its home. Today, Britain is back now, as we heard Brexit, Commonwealth back again. Oh my goodness, Commonwealth is so important to us. We're still there, and we will always be there. The sad thing is in the Commonwealth is this. There are rich countries in the Commonwealth, just as there are rich countries in the EU. But none of these rich countries are sat together and said, look, just like the membership of the EU, we must also have a budget for the Commonwealth where the poorest could benefit. Some of the richest countries, for example, Britain itself, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, so rich countries. But they would put same membership, if there was a such membership, as say Bangladesh or some poor African countries, Uganda and so forth. It's been neglected so much. It's like a gardener neglecting his garden so badly that eventually, where once so many things grew and flourished, nothing eventually grows. And even the earth starts to erode and it becomes the surface of Mars. And how sad that is. In Britain today, 40% of its food, 60% is eaten, 40% is food is wasted, is thrown out following day. One day they said it's over to the date by one day. 40%, tons of food, if you ever look at on the research, is thrown into the bin. Yet we only need to look across, and there's a little boy catching rats in Africa. 8, 9 rats, and he's sitting on the wall, and his mother, he goes and gives it to her, and then she cooks these rats to eat. You know, it's so sad that we have to endure and watch such a thing. Here in Britain, when a mother is pregnant, there's so much joy. They have baby shower, they have pram evening, they have discussions, which is the best pram, which is motorized, which is scrutinized, which is safety, and they look at children's clothes and so many things and so many gifts. Yet when the lady in Africa gives birth, she's just thinking, is he going to die in my stomach because I am starving? And am I going to give this birth? There's no doctors, there's no nothing. Would it be better that he dies than me watching it die? Would it be better that he dies in my stomach, this child, than this child is subsequently born? By the time I've been speaking to you already, there have been so many hundreds of people who have died of starvation. And we stand here and we watch. Every Christmas there is a program called Ebenezer Scrooge. And I'm not so much, it's past culture here, but from what little I've learned from school is that there's a Bob Cratchit and there's Ebenezer Scrooge, and it's all talk about a geese or a turkey for Christmas. And that is played over and over again, this program, every year. I've been watching it since a child. But there's never like, let's forget about Bob Cratchit and let's focus on that little boy catching the rat in Africa, and then let's focus our attention there. Does it have to be Bob Geldof for the music, playing music, for a whole 2 years, getting bands together, singing their hearts out, and then after 2 years, they raise £50 million. After 2 years of solid work and writing and so forth, they raise £50 million to feed these African people. 50 million. Yet in 2 hours, Lakshmi Mittal, of his wealth, in 2 hours, £2 billion was written off. 50 million to collect for Africa by all of these musicians, and yet a billionaire's wealth has been written off by 2 billion in 1 hour. And this week, there was a telephone company called Samsung, yes? And what happened, they've lost £7 billion in 1 day. So we collect £50 million. What a shame. Why don't these nations come together? Why can't they unite these people together? Say, well, if you can lose £7 billion, why don't you give 100 million in one stroke of a luck? No one bothers. No one cares. And this is continuously happening. And these children are going out. The mother sends the child out, and it's scavenging in little tiny swamps and so forth, and dying and so forth. Now, the Muslims fast for 30 days. Jews fast too, and Christians. What is the purpose of fasting? Is it purely that you're going to get the highest place in heaven? Did God intend, okay, fast for 30 days and I'll give you the highest place in heaven? I personally believe that apart from getting their place, there was a hidden message behind that, whether it was for Christians, whether it was for Jews, and whether it was for Muslims. And the hidden message was this: that when you're supposed to fast since sunrise to sunset, in your stomach you feel that you realize what pain is like of hunger for 8 hours. But then these people in Africa and parts of Asia, they're not hungry for 8 hours. They're hungry for a year. They're hungry for 2 years. And some of them, all they go to bed in is water. So radicalization and terrorism. So what happens? They become so hungry. Commander said so wonderfully, being an educational man, and I'm a man, I can only speak about watching hunger, and the commander is an educational man. He said, brilliant. He said, if there was a gold by here, it's our job. It's our job to put in their mindset that that is not yours. You cannot have the gold, to educate their mind. And I sat there and I thought, I agree with the General for the morality, the legality of what he said, and it's correct. But I was at the same time thinking, rather than filling their mind, if a person's stomach is empty, the mind can't function. When the mind can't function, you will do anything you can. If my mother is dying of starvation and someone comes up and gives me some kind of an olive branch, whether it's oily olive branch or greasy olive branch or whatever is on that olive branch, I'll try to grab hold of it. And therefore, that is the issue. And then what happens when you see these people in Africa joining these banned organizations, terrorist organizations, are they doing this out of choice? Why aren't there so many British young, when I say indigenous community here predominantly, are going, because they're well fed, they're well educated, they got everything, they got people with them and so forth. But these people in Africa or Asia, they have nothing. In Britain, a child can go and support his cricket team. Then he can go and support his rugby team. Then he can go and watch Olympics. Then he can train for Olympics. These people in Asia and Africa, they just get up and there's nothing there. No football, no tennis, no Wimbledon, no Wembley, nothing. Only one thing, there's Boko Haram there to go and join, or there's ISIS to join. When you go and join them, there's a bowl of rice, there's a bowl of curry, there's a bowl of food. They go and do that, and then they say, we'll give you the food and everything, and your mother and your child, but you must wear this jacket. Well, you got nothing to lose. You'll be dead in a couple of days anyway of starvation, or mad, or crazy. And people are forced into a situation today that is beyond their control. And we watch this. So what do we do? What do the Western nations do? They pack their planes with arms, with darts, and with missiles, and they go and attack these countries and think the answer is to go and attack them with missiles. When I say the answer is fill the plane with food, good food, and compassion, and serve these people, and I think that terrorism the root will be eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking from my heart to you, a passion that we need to wake up. We can't change the world. All of us sitting here, we can't change the world. But if we can change each one of us, one person's world, at least it's a step in the right direction. Please think of those people. Thank you.